We're going to go over this setup of a Honeywell P200. This is a thermostat that we are starting to see in the manufactured housing industry. We're seeing this one. This is actually in a Clayton home, but we're also seeing these in some Champion homes. There's also a P6000. We'll be going over that in another video. One way that you can tell if you're not familiar, the P6000 will be a smaller, more square. This is a longer rectangular, and that would be the P200. So in order to get into the setup mode, you'll want to push this bottom left and this top right at the same time and hold them for about 5 seconds. Will enter you into the setup menu. Now when you get into this setup menu, the reason we have to do this is because you cannot set these up until after you get the power turned on to the house. Most of your installers are actually installing the systems prior to the power being turned on. So we actually start this, you would need to set this up because it does not start up in your setup menu. So you get to this 1SU, and that is where you want to start your setup at. Now these thermostats do not come set up typically for your, in order for you to be able to use them with a heat pump. And most all of the houses today, by energy standards, come with a heat pump or at least a high efficiency gas furnace. So that's why you want to set this up. This is going to be a setup for a heat pump with auxiliary, electric auxiliary heat. Now this first one that comes up, this is number 1040. This is for your scheduling options. If you go down to 1, this is where you change your numbers. If you go down to 1, what that would give you is 1 week of scheduling where every day would be the same settings. Number 2 is the way it comes set from the factory. That is with you have Monday through Friday will be set the same, and then Saturday and Sunday will be set the same. You can also set it for 3, which would be Monday through Friday would be the same, Saturday would be different, and Sunday would be different. Or you can set it for 4, and every day will have its own setting. Most people will leave that in the 2 mode, but you can set it however you want to on that. Scheduling will be set in a different menu. The next one, 1050, will set whether you want Fahrenheit or Celsius. Most everybody in the United States uses Fahrenheit. 1060 would be no outdoor sensor, which would be 0. If you do have, if you are connected to a Wi-Fi, you could set it to number 2. But this system does not have that Wi-Fi connected, so you can't set it to number 2, so that it would read the internet ratings. Number 2000 is where you want to set this. They normally come set up from the factory with 1, which is just a conventional electric furnace. You will want to change that to number 2 for a heat pump, and then hit next. Next one would be sets it for the type of auxiliary or heating system equipment that you have. Everywhere from it will start with a number 7, which is your air-to-air heat pump. That's the option it gives you for a heat pump, or when you set it in number 2 for heat pump. Now if you changed it on the pass screen, then it would give you more options. On 2060, this is where you set your reversing valve. Be sure you leave that in the 0 position, which tells you that your reversing valve is energized in the cooling mode. Most systems today, that would be ones we deal with, is Goodman, Carrier, Train, Ream, Nordyne, all come set with reversing valve set for cooling mode. What happens if you change that would be if you turn it on to air conditioning, you'll actually get heat out instead of air conditioning. So you want to leave that in the 0 position. The next option that you have is compressor stages. Most all systems today are going to have a 1 unless you do have a super high efficient system with a variable speed. Your auxiliary backup is in 2071, and most systems are going to be only going to have 1 stage of auxiliary. In 2175, you'll want to leave that for drive both auxiliary and E. That way that if either one of them is energized, and most time you only have one hooked up, it will turn on your auxiliary heat. And on 2180, you can set this for 31 or 32. If you have an electric furnace for your auxiliary, you would leave that on 31. If you should have a gas furnace, you could set that to 32 or 33. And that will set your fossil fuel or dual fuel settings. Then at 3000, this is your changeover. Now, this is one that some people like, some people don't. If you want a simple thermostat where you set it for cool, you set it for heat, then you would want to change this down to 0, and that would be manual. That way, every time you want it to change from air to heat, you would have to do it yourself. But at least where we're at, you get really wide swings during the day, and at night, like today, it's going to be in the 70s today. It's going to be down to 40 tonight. So when you get days like that, what you want to do is have an auxiliary or an auto changeover. And with the auto changeover, what will happen is you can set your band, and if it gets above a certain temperature, it will turn on your air. If it drops below a certain temperature, it'll turn on your heat. So you can get up in the morning with heat, and then later on in the afternoon, your air will come on so your house doesn't get so stuffy. And that is your auto changeover. We're going to leave this one on auto changeover. The next one you do have to set that band. You do not want, it gives you an option to set it all the way down to 0. You do not want that. You want to set it for at least 3. And what that does is that way it's not constantly changing back from heat to cool. It gives you a 3-degree band. So if you set your heat, the way I do mine, I set my heat at like 69 degrees. So if it drops below 69, it turns on my heat. If it gets above 72, it'll turn on my air. And that 3-degree band is not unbearable. The next one you have is 3021. You'll want to leave that on 0. The next few, it's not something you would want to change. It skips over to your comfort droop. Now in your comfort droop, this is something that you might, this is where your auxiliary turns on. During the winter, your auxiliary will need to supplement your heat from time to time. Some of them, you can set it to where if it drops more than 3 degrees in your house, it will come on. With this one, we're going to leave it on 0. And what that does is if it stays at a certain temperature for an amount of time without dropping, or if it does not exceed this, then what it will do, the next one you set the time period. If you set it for 30 minutes or 60 minutes or 90 minutes, we'll set this one on 30 minutes. So what it does is if your temperature drops actually 1 degree and stays there for 30 minutes, or it can't reach your temperature within 30 minutes, what it will do is it'll automatically turn on your auxiliary heat to bring that back up. The next one is a compressor lockout. You want to leave that on 0. On that compressor lockout, you don't want to lock it out, especially since you don't have an outdoor sensor, and you also want to turn off your the lockout for the heat and cool. So that should that actually takes you through all of the sets that you want to make in order to get you started. And at that point, you would hit set and exit, and that will take you back to this setup screen, and you would just exit out of that. There's other settings that you can go through. You can review it. You can do a complete reset. This will give you information, and this is to test your system. But at this point, you just exit back out. And at this point, you are ready to go ahead and start your unit up. We're going to start with heat this morning, and we'll go ahead and set it for heat and set it for 65. And hear the heat coming on now. And at this point you would want to check. Go outside, make sure your unit is running, that it came on. Now sometimes when you will see on this thermostat, it will have a note up here at the top that will tell you that it is waiting for the heat. That's because it's if you just turned your power on, what it has to do is actually wait until it calibrates the temperature. Another thing you'll want to do, just to keep these lines off the top, is go ahead and hit your menu button, and that takes you to your alerts. But also you want to go ahead and set your time. If you want to use your programming, you'll need to set your time. Set it for 12 hours or 24 hours. The time right now is 11:52 where I'm at. So we will set this. You want to go down to 11 a.m. and take this up to 52. And you'll hit save on that. Next you'll go into your date, select that. We're actually in 2026 now. I'm making this on March the 19th. Actually, no, today is the 20th. Sorry about that. And go ahead and save and exit that. And that gets you your date set. And then this is where you go into your scheduling. And you can actually, for a lot of people, they don't like scheduling. We're running into a lot of that. You can actually just turn your schedule off at this point. And that way this goes off of your control. If you are somebody that is on a schedule, you leave for work the same time every day, you come home the same time every day, you go to bed the same time every day, I would recommend the scheduling. It can save you some money. But if you're somebody that's home or on an irregular pattern, I would set that to off. And that has got you all set up and ready to go. If you would, subscribe to my channel, and you'll see some other content. Thank you very much.